Hey everybody, welcome back to the Bill and Ray Show. I'm out in the torch shop to make another marble, and I'm going with some red cane and some green cane because it's December, holiday season. So let's fire up the torch and see if we can build a couple canes. I'm going to start out with a 10mm rod here, and this first cane is just going to be one single red stripe. And of course nothing is quite that simple, so we'll do a line of some dragon's blood, and then a line of cherry, and then another line of dragon's blood on top of that. And this is going to wind up being just a real skinny little cane. I thought of some different ways of doing this to build this red part as a separate concentric piece, but I thought, no, let's just lay it down as lines on here. So as you notice, that dragon's blood went completely transparent. Now it's starting to strike back the color as it cools down. So instead of just having this cherry red that I just put down, I kind of beef it up with some dragon's blood, which is a deeper kind of blood red. But on its own, it tends to be a little murky, so that cherry red is a real nice, bright red. So we're going to kind of sandwich them together. Now this part I'm not quite sure how I was going to get this down to where I want to twist it up. So we'll see if I can keep this under control and make something work here. Got a beautiful sunshiny day, crispy cold here in western Montana, early December. Now ideally I'd like this to get down and melted all the way in, but that may be a little impractical. There's one little kind of bright spot here. It looks like a little bubble. Pop that little bubble, let that melt in. I got my big clunky cold weather boots on, so hitting that foot switch is like maybe stumbling around here with my feet. It's working in. So the final cane idea here is to have just a real thin little wispy sort of trail of some red sort of as an accent. So, grab a handle here. To start out, just getting this whole section twisted up. So start out with kind of a gentle twist and try and get this settled down to a cylinder. So we're going to do some steps here. Trying to get that melted in and then trying to get it rounded out. And it seems it's actually kind of the easiest thing to do is twist it a bit to get things to round out. And once we get to this step, without drawing it out, I'm going to give it some more twist. Kind of work my way across it. Twist it more, maybe pull it out just a little bit. Get a nice little fine line of red. And that's the other reason of kind of doing this layered with the dragon's blood and the cherry is to try and get some intensity. So hopefully when this pulls out thin, it's not too watered down. This still may not be really intense enough for what I want to do, but we'll see. So now I want to pull this out thin. I'll switch this around just because I like to pull out to the left. And this doesn't really need, I'm not really looking to have this be a particularly twisty thing. It doesn't really need to be a constant twist at all. It could be kind of random back and forth even. I think I got the intensity of red that I was looking for. It's funny because that dragon's blood, it does go clear when it's hot, so you can't really see what it's doing. As it cools down, it's got a little bit more, well, you can see the dragon's blood, which is a transparent, translucent sort of a color. Cool, so I think that worked out pretty well. And I've had people wonder, it's like, well, don't you have to put that cane into the kiln or something? Or I don't know, I never do. Small diameter canes, I never try and anneal them or keep them in the kiln hot or something before I work with them. And that's the way I used to work with the soft glass. Soft glass is a lot pickier than boro. So this is more like a 15-16 millimeter rod, which is kind of larger than I want for this next step, but I'm still looking to get kind of an open twisted dip cane. So you need a good amount of clear on the interior core, so it doesn't all just compact into a solid color on top of color next to color. And today, the big adventure for me today is this green glass. I got some of this Glasstronics dark green. People say this is suitable for deep encasement in Vortex marbles and so on, and I've been looking. I've never really had a good green that I can rely on for deep encasement. So thanks to some folks online talking up this color, I decided to go for it. So this is literally the first time I'm using this color, but before I use that color, I'm getting this blank section way too hot, but it's okay. Get a good heat soak into it. I'm going to first lay down some lines with this green silky glass from Greasy glass, which when I've used it in deep encasement, it goes very, very pale pastel, you know, nearly white, very, very low color content. But because this other green is so dark, I'm going to try layering these two glass colors. It's a little experiment in color on top of color. A lot of color layering when you're doing it on the surface is really cool effects. It's a little different when it's in a deep encasement situation. Okay, we're going to heat that in a little bit. So I hope everybody watching this can find their zen, find their peace, find their inner strength. Sending out a lot of joy and warm thoughts to our world around us. A lot of gratitude. You're working with glass, you can feel the heat You can feel the warmth. You can feel the love. You can see the light. And you try and go to a happy Zen mode. Make happy glass. No guarantees, but it's a good idea anyway. Okay. So we're going to lay this green glass on top of those lines. And people have said this glass melts like butter, doesn't boil. I've had some other colors that I use that are very similar to this glass. I don't think it's the same manufacturer necessarily, but as advertised, it melts really nice, doesn't boil. Yeah, if this works out, this will be really useful in a lot of implosion situations, floral kinds of things you do inside a glass, inside a marble. Because most of the other cadmium grit-based greens that we have to work with are not very friendly and tend to crack when they are in deep encasement situations. So this little piece, we are definitely going to punty this up. Lose this big bulky rod. I don't have the center fire, top fire I guess is technically. My torch setup. Not dialed up very strong. The Emerald would say kick it up a notch. Did I say emerald? Emerald. If you know, you know. A lot of colors like this, they definitely glow very bright. When they're hot. So again, without pulling it out thinner, we're going to twist this bit. Go back and forth on here and get it to smooth out. And if all looks well, go ahead and twist and pull. So I'm looking for a twist to twist to be about the same as the diameter. For whatever reason, is a little bit larger gauge than I had in mind, but looks nice. Let's see. Okay. This will work. And that one being fairly thick is going to be hot for a minute. This is going to be my punchy rod for later on with the marbles, so we'll clean this up. Okay, now when I set these down, when they've got a hot end to them, I'm trying to get them on this rod rest far enough over so that heat zone on the end of the rod is hanging out in space. If you get it too close, then this rod rest is going to chill that glass and it'll crack right near the end where the heat is getting taken out of it. So don't do that. Get this out of the way. Okay, now we got our larger piece of glass here. This one's been stitched together in two places, so I hope it behaves. Thanks. Yeah, my wife Ray's birthday is in December. My one sister's birthday is in December. Ray's mom just had her birthday in December. Ray's dad is in December. My brother-in-law is in December. So, mid-December, hopefully the family's going to get together and celebrate a generic birthday for all those that are somewhere in December. So that's coming up here pretty soon for me. For the family that lives in this area anyway. Now, once again, I'm hoping to not make this marble too huge. I've been getting kind of a little bit bigger on these, and it's hard to adjust for the finished size. But it all starts here at this beginning phase, how big this initial cone is going to be. Okay, that's a pretty good gather. Settle this down. Good time to take a swallow with our marble mug with lots of pictures of marbles past. Okay, kind of set that down for a minute and get it to get stable, and then we got to get our shape going on. So I'm going to kind of make a break point there. Don't usually do that, but flatten that edge. Try and kind of define how large this center is going to be. This marble is going to have a completely open core. Just the walls are decorated. And we start out with our red cane. I'm going to just take off a little bit here. Okay, so we're going to start out on the tip. And we're going to just kind of draw some lazy wiggles here. Okay, that's about all the crazy little random lines we can put in here. Just making a real open structure. And capture those ends, they're going to want to boil. Let this fuse down on its own. A big flame can kind of heat the whole mass up more than necessary. Once this gets hot, use a little smaller flame and give it a little time. Just kind of looking for that surface to move. So we're pretty smooth, and we can define our cone again. Now it's kind of a judgment call here at this end, how much you want to mess with. Clean that up just a little bit. Okay, so next, give me this big crazy fat green thing. Now this I intend to spiral on, but in a pretty open fashion. Give a lot of space between rows. This will be interesting to see how the dimensionality of this. As this melts in, the clear kind of rises to the surface, and with that it's pulling that red cane that we put down first. And green is behaving really nicely. I'm going to throw that heat into the little crevices and get them to melt out, relax. And that's got that nice open lacy look that I was hoping for. Once again, we need to kind of redefine our cone. Okay, now what should we do next? And according to my plan, we're going to do some blue-green frit next. I just barely touched this copper tube on these Red Max torches. They're dangerous. That's kind of a poor part of their design. That needs a heat shield on it to, if you run into that, it's screaming hot. Alright, get our base good and toasty. Give it a roll in the crumbles. And that will work. That's all we need for that layer. A little bit of backdrop. And the next thing we're going to do is some gold fume, and then I'm going to put down some dark cobalt backing. Let's get this put away so we don't have frit making a mess here. Okay, that's cooled down a little bit. Better for making the gold fume work. this is one of those steps where I really want to dump some gold on there. This is going to be a reflective backdrop. I really like this combination of that blue-green frit and then this backing of a gold base. And a lot of times I'll use black glass to back the gold. And this time I'm using a dark cobalt, which isn't as dark as I would like, really, but I don't seem to have any darker cobalt. So this backing won't be completely opaque. But it will be shiny. Well, I don't think I succeeded in making this marble any smaller. I think this is going to be pretty big. You know, like I have been typically this last few. Some of these have been pushing 2 1/4 inches, which it takes a little longer to complete them. Oops. I'll let go of my grasp of the stringer there for a sec. Hold on to a very small piece here. Trying to get everything positioned here, get my armrest. I don't know if any of these shots really show. I got these silly, just a 2x4 block with a piece of foam taped on top. But I can move those armrests around. That got pretty well covered. So using a pretty good amount of force. This is one of the rare times I use quite a bit of push here. Most glass work, if you're starting to use any significant force, that's kind of a dangerous thing to do. That's when glass breaks. Okay. Making progress here. This is going to be a pretty marble, I think. I'm going to add a little silver on the back here. Okay, we're done with our cobalt packing. Now I need to throw down some clear. Yeah, I think this marble will be a pretty festive collection of color and reflections and different patterns. I've just been really wanting to get a hold of this green glass. I'm actually kind of a day off schedule waiting for this glass to show up. Finishing out the video editing and production. Going to be a lot of hurry up work tomorrow. Hide what I'm doing with this marber, but just trying to kind of pull that bulge where I added the clear glass. I don't need that bulk of glass around this edge. I just kind of slide it over, and then I come into this point on the end, and we're going to skinny that up. Just kind of pushing that back up onto there. I just feel like this is like welding rod. This is filler rod here. Well, of course, I'm always a little concerned about coming out here when it's cold weather, but it's warmed up in here. Always does at some point. Okie dokie. Let's see, bump this guy up. When your glass isn't flopping around, you can do small rotations and pause. Good bit of time, let that heat sink in. Glass just does not really take heat all that readily. It's a very good insulator, unlike metal. So you really have to take time to get it to absorb that heat. See that little end sticking out. And now as it all gets hotter and it's wanting to droop, you have to at least keep the rotation up to speed with the tendency to drop. But most often you're actually rotating faster than that, so then you're having to sort of slightly pause as it gets to a high spot and let it droop back to center, basically is what I think of it. And then we'll come out of the heat and get on the roller and try and center that up, get our rotations to... So at this point you may discern, I can certainly discern, there's quite a bit of asymmetry there, and that's okay. Sometimes looking into these marbles you may even see a little misdirection of the focus down to the bottom, but generally you don't really even notice much of those asymmetries, because the optics of the front lens just kind of magnifies everything, and you'd think it would magnify any off-center, but it just changes the whole perspective. Okay, on the back side we're going to do some Aqua Azul, same thing as opaque Aqua, just different manufacturer. And then I've been kind of liking this mint color. I've used this several times, so this is a lot of revisiting the same colors, maybe slightly different combinations. This is another color that has very little bubble problems and flows really nice, fits up with the heat. This backing side gets blasted with the heat a lot in the finished stages and goes into the graphite mold quite a lot, and that imparts some chemistry changes and number of colors. Even some of the colors I typically use, they get kind of a gray look to them from some of that changing surface chemistry. And then my other favorite, Unobtanium. Part of the stringer is pretty thin, so I'm pushing on it to get it on there thicker. Kind of push and or, well, no, push or drag the stringer, depending on whether it's a little too thin or a little too fat. Trying to get the glass you're laying down to be the right width or, you know, right amount of glass you want. Okay, that all goes down easy peasy. It is bright though. Colored glass in general is bright. When it's hot, hot, hot. So before raking, I do think it matters to give it some extra time, even after it seems like the lines have kind of flattened out. I think sometimes I have issues raking because I jump into it too fast. The color hasn't really fully meshed with the clear base or with each adjoining line. Okay, now I have to wait long enough for it to stop wobbling. We can kind of try and adjust our flame. Don't want this flame to be too ferocious, attacking the glass. But it needs to be hot. So this is all a little bit mysterious. So we've got to heat up enough to get the glass ready to move, and then rotate away from that. And I'll start dragging this. I'm trying to stay just kind of on the edge of where the heat's really going into the glass. And I like to feel, don't want to be dragging around when it's soupy hot, but fairly close to that. The tungsten pick itself is not really in the fire. I mean, it's pretty much glowing red, but I don't really want it to be screaming hot. And it seems like those first couple areas where I raked, they can tear open a little bit, and that's pretty typical. But it seems like once the tungsten pick has kind of a little gather of glass stuck to it, that's when it's a lot happier. And then I clean up the pick after every use, get all the old glass off of it, and then periodically sharpen it. I generally just sharpen it with a file, but you can use a grinder. Oops, I see it tore open just a little bit there. Talking, not paying attention. So these initial areas that kind of broke open, I just kind of heat it up and push it. Keep your tool chilled with some water. It's an old butter knife. It's a good operator. And someplace out here it did this. And that's good. Now, things got off center, out of whack. Going through that phase. So let's see if we can kind of get a little bit back on center. The other thing that can happen raking, and generally if your base glass is not hot enough, as you're dragging, you create bubbles. If it's not, even if it's not tearing on the surface, it's tearing underneath. And when you get to this point and you're heating the whole thing up, you can see all these bubbles underneath. And some colors just don't play well with this technique. So it's one reason I keep using my limited selection of colors in different combinations over and over again, because I trust those colors to not give me too much trouble. Do some gentle shaping. Oops, dang it. Thinking that it's not hot. So tweaking the shape is just a little bit at a time. Back in the fire, melt out those chill marks and little creases and wiggles it made. Okay, looking pretty good to go on to building up the lens. Now we're kind of back pretty symmetrical on center. Which one is it? This one. So when I punty like that, I'm trying to pay attention to controlling the axis with the punty that I just put on there, and kind of ignore the other side, let it kind of wiggle around. Because the hot side, things are kind of moving around. It's not a very stable reference. I just thought it's kind of like, to me, I don't do a lot of driving at night, but I was learned long ago that if someone oncoming lights are too bright or bothering you, you try and look at the edge of the road, at the white line, and just keep an eye on things with your peripheral vision. It's kind of what this is like to me most of the time. So we open up that circumference, the dividing line between the color and the clear, and it flares out. And then we just need to get some bulk clear on this end. Just about ready to cut this free. When you cut glass like that, get it thin, stretch it a little bit, but don't just keep pulling, because you're going to wind up with a big old stringy thing of glass attached. Yeah, this phase needs some aggressive heat. I'm going to bite down into the glass a bit here. This little transition zone, probably more than anywhere on the lens, is where all the buildup of compressed glass and traces of the fuming. The background full circle, and I got this little tail to settle down. The rest of this is kind of skimming, trying to get a little broader sweep. Not a good time for my unknown caller. I'm expecting a call, but I can't do much with it right now. Now I just have to get it round. Everything is basically done. Like getting this up to a nice round sphere. Use a little fast rotation once things are kind of warmed up, and see how it pulls that end down and fattens up the circumference. Again, to keep things round and symmetrical, I like to run it through the L marver a little bit and get it round on axis. I do have my other big marble made, I can play with. Get to this point, we need a little general rounding. Yeah, who would have known I made a big marble again? Oops. Those big winter boots. Okay, swap punties. So the clear glass likes to move quite a bit easier than this colored glass, so getting the front lens to condense into a round shape is easy, but relative to this. So I can try some of this fast spinning, but it generally doesn't quite work the same. And in order to maintain the interior geometry, you really want this glass to be heated all the way through and move, get all the layers to kind of move together. Spinning will pull in the end, but can't quite get this circumference worked in. So just take some cycles. Kind of wrestling it into shape. Okay, I think I have the bulk of the shape settled in. So then we run this in the marble mold a little bit, let it cool off. Cool off just so we can heat it up again, but this time we're just trying to get the surface heated, get that last fire polish. Some slow rotations, lots of heat. Get it up to a good bright glow. But we're not trying to get heat into the core, so we'll just stop before it gets too far. With everything hot, I don't really see that red too much, but hopefully it's in there. Okay, last attachment. Okay, now it's all about getting this front lens settled in. Run this one more time with a mold. Now, it kind of leaves the very end messy. That's where relying on the mold too much just doesn't really get the job done. You've got to go through these heat cycles, get that end really hot, let it settle down, kind of heal itself up. We are just about there. Okay, we're going to call that good. Okay, we gotta let this cool off just enough so we can get it disconnected. Okay, get some wet tweezers here. And a little fire polish. Okay, we made it. Yay! Another cool marble ready for the kiln. Hope you all are doing well. Have a great day. Enjoy. Try and find your peace. Try and find your zen. Y'all be good. We'll see you back here again for another episode, another day. Take care.